Hey guys, it's Casual Friday, and that means it's Medium Nancy Matz Friday. And our topic today is, what happens after you die? Do you go to spirit, or do you become a ghost? We'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Happy Friday, everybody. How's everybody doing? I heard that. We're all yip-yapping away Friday. We're all people skipping out of work and all that. Not skipping like work, but I mean skipping out of work, right? Anyway, my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of very hot Sacramento, California. 92 degrees today. If you hear a hum behind me, or a slight hum, that's my air conditioner. I have an old, it's really window air conditioner in here, and I'm not dying of heat stroke to do this. In fact, I'll enlighten you on something you probably didn't care about anyway, but I'm going to talk about anyway, because that's what I do. When I was in college, I was going through like a gap year in college, and it was one of those years when you're trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. Well, I knew I wanted to be something in the entertainment industry. No, not like that. Who would want to look at this in the entertainment industry? Anyway. So I was taking things. In fact, it was upsetting because at one time, the college I went to actually had a full television studio to teach television and all that, and they didn't have that. So I took photography. I wanted to learn. I figured I could learn about lighting and stuff in photography. I took a film lighting class. I took different film classes, film makeup for horror, stuff like that. And I also took recording studio engineering, which was cool, right? I mean, this is what I'm doing, right? Loved the class, learned a lot. I'm qualified enough to go to concerts, and go work in like Memorial Auditorium and all the big concert venues. I know how to push and pull all the switches and all that. I can go to recording studios and work. The problem I had with it, nobody knows how old I am except Nancy. The problem I had with it was that back then, air conditioning systems weren't anywhere near as quiet as they are nowadays. Okay? They were like this one. And so when I was taking this class, I was really into it. One of the things they said was, well, you can't have an air conditioner on during a recording session. And I said, what? And the guy said, yeah, you can't have an air conditioner on during the recording session because the mics would pick it up. And I thought, that's it. That was the end of that whole dream. Shot down the toilet of life. Flushed down. I can't be without AC. My allergies, everything. Especially like working in Sacramento. I mean, Sacramento was bizarre. I mean, Sacramento, in fact, it's early this year. Usually it's another week or so, and that long Memorial Day weekend hits. Or is it Labor Day? Whatever that long weekend is at the end of May, that's when the heat hits. We're 2 weeks early. And we're already going to be at 98 next Friday. So it's already slammed. I don't do well in the heat, never did. So me to work in a recording studio with no air conditioning, deal breaker. But I finished off the classes. I got I got a minor in recording studio engineering, which brings me to this, because when I decided to do this, my original studio, like for Blog Talk Radio, was real simple. It was just a little office. When I decided to go whole hog and do this, I decided to build a full studio here. If I move my tables out and move everything around here, right in front of me is a recording booth. So I could actually have somebody in here recording a song, right? Because I built it up that way. In fact, I'm going to be doing a how-to video, in the next couple of weeks to show you guys how I did this so inexpensively to make a studio. Okay? The other studio, the big studio, which you see me use for the Lego builds and all that, that's a photo video studio. And that was designed because, of course, I took photography, and so I knew how to do all that stuff. Knew how to do studio lighting. So anyway, That's my thing about air conditioning. So if you hear that hum in the back, that's what it is. There's no way I'm going to go without air conditioning. And I've got like a 35-year-old air conditioner in that window that keeps on the ticking. So I just gotta hope, another season. Hopefully, when I get my whole house air conditioner installed, that'll be positioned out in my dining room. You won't hear it here, but I'll have the door propped open and I'll have AC back here. But for now, it's the baby air conditioner. Okay, welcome again to the show. Okay, I stopped at being the owner. Anyway, we're 45 strong up and down the state of California. That means if you have a paranormal need, we can help you. It might take us a couple days to get to you because California is like this really huge state. But we can help you, right? You think of us as like Hawaii, like surfer girls and surfer guys, and it is like that. But as you go further inland, you run into mountains, you run into foothills, you run into deserts, you name it, we got it here. Palm Springs, perfect example. So, in the case that it might take us a couple days to get to you, we do have mediums like Nancy on staff who could phone you. And if what's going on is paranormal, they can usually settle the energy down until we can get out there. And it usually doesn't take more than 1 or 2 days for us to get to you. You want to find us? Just Google California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, California Haunts Radio. You'll find us everywhere. Or just pop right on up. That being said, hello Facebook. For those of you that are watching from Facebook tonight, and a lot of you are, please feel free to follow if you haven't done so already. We've been gaining some followers this past week. Getting a lot of views on Facebook. Thank you to whoever's watching. I appreciate it. Whoever's sharing the show. We have more than tripled our views the last 3 days. Wow, it's nice, and it's because of you guys. And I'll tell you why in a second. All right. If you're watching from YouTube, same thing. If you haven't subscribed already and you like what you see tonight, feel free to do that. And during the show, show us some love. Give us a thumbs up. Give us like those happy heart thingies, happy face. Whatever, just let us know that you like what we're doing here as far as the shows go, right? I'm a photojournalist. I don't like to do paranormal all the time, so I will change it up from time to time. Was it not this week, but the week before about the Yuba County 5? Those guys that went missing. We might talk about stuff like that, but that's because of my background. But yeah, so you're going to find all kinds of things, and that being said, over YouTube, there's 1,000 videos over there, and they're being put into categories so you can find them better, right? So if you're into medium Nancy Matz, and a lot of you are, you just go click on her folder and boom, she pops right up. You like cryptids, boom, same thing. So it's like that. Okay, now again, be sure to hit that like button and all that good stuff. And if you're watching from TikTok, they all work the same basically. TikTok, the whole like thing is you got to double tap the screen. So they all basically work the same. Twitch, same thing. But the more of those that we get, and the more times you comment in my chat room, and the more times you share, the master computers at these places see that, and they share us out to more people. And that's the key, right? Like I always say at the end of the show, if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hate the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We're just trying to get the word out. Okay, so tonight is medium Nancy Matz's night. She's probably over there mad at me because I'm taking too long. I'm long-winded. That's because I discovered something. The man who invented freeze-dried pineapple is a god. I finally found a healthy snack that I can get behind for me that I like. I love this stuff. I opened it up last night and just absolutely fell head over heels in love with it. And it comes, let me do this real quick here before we go on the air. Nancy can yell at me after. And it reminded me of cereal. It reminded me of like some kind of kid's cereal, right? But the pieces aren't that bad. In fact, I was having popcorn when I opened it up last night to enjoy it. Let me get in here and get a sizable piece that you guys can see. Hang on. Okay, this might have to work. But their pieces are about that big. Some are bigger. But I'll tell you, this is the way to go. Kind of reminds me of that puffy cereal. I forget what that was with the bear on it. It's not Cocoa Puffs. It's that other kind that's kind of that weird shape. Anyway, good stuff from Starbucks. I'm going to be going there. I got a gift card from Starbucks. I'm heading over there tomorrow morning. Get myself some more. Okay, so tonight's topic, interesting topic. We always wonder what happens after we die. And after listening to this show, I guess you guys kind of figured that we don't totally die. We're still running around the earth in a lot of cases, kind of hanging out with our family members. Well, what is it? do we have a choice? Do we have a choice to go to spirit right away? Or do we have a choice to be a ghost and decide, I'm going to haunt people? Like those things you see on Facebook, those memes. I want to die so I can haunt 20 people. And I got a list, that kind of thing. So Nancy's going to answer some of these questions for us. And I'm going to shut up and listen to her. Finally. So let's bring her up and, let's talk ghosties.
I have two cats that I've had to shoo away from me, so they may be around here. The cats live here with us, but we have it misinterpreted. We actually, as humans, are allowed to live with them.
Uh,
So that,
oh, she's been watching
so
my show, I see. Very good. Last
yeah,
night's
yeah,
show.
right.
Yeah, that was a
Your
good show last
your
night.
animals let you live with them for sure. So I also had the air on. I had the sweater off. I closed the vents. I'm warm again. So we'll kind of work at this. What about your spirit life or becoming a ghost? I'm going to cover lots of information here. Some of you heard of from me before, but there's always someone who will listen to for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an advocate for YouTube, and a lot of I call them talking heads. A lot of people that I listen to online. TV, yeah, I do watch it. Not enough because Shar calls me up and says, "Did you watch this one?" Oh no, I didn't. But I sometimes in the future watched shows in the past. And this couple past week, I watched some from the 1930s and 40s, and it was very, very fun. But they don't apply to tonight, some other time. So there's many YouTube videos, NDE stories, and the life-altering changes and revelations that can come from these experiences. And I'm speaking to in near-death experiences. Those people come back and report to us. But if you're like me, I'm able to talk to the relatives of those who are deceased, and I get a little different information, a little bit more. Those who do die can't come back and visit with us. Chart that. Was I knocked off a little bit there? I don't know.
Didn't see it.
So I want to cover what near-death experiences I've read. I should be giving credit to all the stories I've heard, but then again, how many have I watched that I kind of glean a little this and a little that? So I apologize if I talk of your story, but I don't mention your name because a lot of from memory. But a lot of this is from my experiences, and who else can I draw the experiences from but myself? So I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I have to draw on what I've also been told because it's future books and it's just wow, it's so interesting to me. I wish I were your age and getting started, or at least put 33 years in. Most people aren't aware I worked at a telephone company for 24 years, and the last 12 years was engineering. So I really have a clinical mind. Ended up in management. But yeah, allergies are here. Everybody's suffering. Hold on. One of my first experiences, I call it the pay attention moment. It was around 2000, and I had been doing this full time since 92. I got into this in 90, but it took 2 years for me to come to a grips that maybe I could help people. And I got into
Mm-hmm.
this to find out why bad things happen to good people. This in 87, I got stage 3.5 breast cancer. The next year in 88, July 1st after treatment, I got divorced. A year and a half later, the doc said, "Well, we're going to watch you real closely for about 15 years. If you make the next 5 years, we'll check you every 6 months because in those years, chemotherapy killed people because I was only
Right.
39. So my searching for why do bad things happen to good people came on the heels of them calling me up on my birthday, April 30th, and saying, year and a half later, it just happened to be my birthday. Um, they said, we think you're going to live, but we'll watch it. And this was on a phone call while I was
Mm-hmm.
driving my Toyota Corolla down the freeway. And I was so surprised, like, gosh, maybe it's going to be okay that I asked the universe. I said out loud, thank you for my life and my sanity. And if you wish, I'll work for you the rest of my life. And it was one of those old little slang here. The car went like this. I looked around like, did I hit something? There was nothing. And 5 days later, I was coming off the freeway. I mean, I'll get on the freeway from Auburn. I lived in Watt Avenue, uh, Black Eagle Drive, and I was coming down from Auburn, California, where I was engineering supervisor. And they directed me to Spirit of Grace. I spent 15 years there. Universal Christ of the Master got my ministry. The Church of Living God, Sedona, Arizona, spiritualist minister. And I have loved every minute of it. And people say, well, I've had all this in my life. I need to start over. And of course, that's something I'm really good at, is helping people with this death and dying, grieving, recovery, new beginnings. I handle a lot of areas, but that's one I'm really familiar with because that happened to me. And they say, oh, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. And I went, wait a minute, I was an engineering supervisor as a single woman making as much money as I'd ever need. I gave it all up, medical. My family had a fit. Mom, you've had cancer. You can't quit after 2 years of being on your own. And it was like, yeah, but I could die. No, they said, if you live 5 years. So I tell people I made the greatest sacrifice for the greatest reward. Don't tell me you're afraid to make a change in your life. The passion for what you want to get into has to be the most important thing in your life. And my journey to find the truth and find out why we are here and to help people was bigger than the fear of not having the money I was making. So 33 years later, I guess I made it and I'm still alive. So at this age, I've got, put this out there and start writing the rest of my books. I've written 3. I got 9, 8 lined out. 1 I'm doing now. And the universe has been kind and it's been difficult. And I have a lot to say. If this goes longer, we'll just do a part 2 next week. So the first time I paid attention, really paid attention to the afterlife, was in 2000. I had been doing readings. I seen all these dead people. I saw the bubbles of torment. I saw the bubbles of a self-created environment. People walking around, I'd get somebody and someone walk up to them. It happens all the time. I go, oh, fudge, maybe this person doesn't want me to talk to them about dead people. Maybe they don't believe in this, or maybe that dead person was one of the worst enemy of the family. I mean, who knows, right? It happens a lot. And I kind of got to a place they wouldn't show up. They didn't think they'd be uh, accepted. So I've had to kind of weigh it a little bit. But this woman came to me, and I was off on Fairbanks Boulevard in Old Auburn. And this woman came to me, and she'd just been grieving terrible. And it was a man in her family. I don't remember everything, but I think it was her husband. And it hadn't been that long that he had been over there, months versus years. And she said, I just really want to know what he's doing. And in some ways, I think I've had this happen where I don't mind trick questions. Absolutely not. Just don't tell me. You keep it to yourself. Just ask me questions. That's all I care about. Because the answer is true no matter what. And sometimes if you think you're tricking me, then spirit will take it to be a joke and you won't get your answer. So be careful. But anyway, she said, what is he doing? And I looked at the spirit man. He was a big husky guy. I says, well, where are you? Why don't you show me what you're doing? And he turned around and I saw the back of him and he says, here, I'm here. And I went, well, let me think here. He is not here. But all I saw was a landscape, huge landscape. And just like where Shar and I lived in Montague and Hornbrook, big ice glacier valleys at one time and carved the mountains and made beautiful valleys. The Hornbrook Montague area is like breathtaking. You drive in the country, you don't see it unless you get off the main street, but breathtaking, and especially in the springtime. And this is what the man showed me. And I looked at it and I, you know, you know, I come from a clinical background, even though I do all this. I'm an artist. It's just like I had to analyze. I went, he's showing me a valley. Where is he? Death Valley? Where is it? Because I didn't see a lot of trees. It was just expansive with the mountains in the back. And I got the impression this was his choice. This was his heaven. And it was years later that I thought about this. I went, Nancy, why didn't you ask the question? But it satisfied the wife. Oh, I know exactly what it is. Of course, at the time I don't remember because I do probably have it on cassette tape because I kept them for so many years. But what it taught me was we can create our heaven. And we will do this after we've passed over. So these are things I want to talk about tonight because what about your spirit life tells me, and divert just a little bit from what Shar said, but when we first pass over, it's not necessarily what you think you're going to see. It's what your subconscious needs to see. It's the people that will be best for you. I do see my mother when I pass over. I mean, the essence of her, she'll be right there. Thank you, mother. But yeah, I do this. Like, who's going to greet me? Well, there's my mother. And I expect her. There's other a couple of people around, but I'm not positive I know who they are. They may not have passed over yet. Don't know. We'll see, right? Because there's a lot of life. Hopefully, I have another 10, 15, 20 years at the most. And I'd be very satisfied because that's what I do. One day I was talking to a friend whom I trust, and we were talking about this. And when we first initially pass over, those people that are important to us are what our subconscious, our inside person needs. That's what's going to happen. And she said to me, I see you riding a horse with a big black dog. Oh, she didn't know I was a competitive rider, and she didn't know I had a black lab. I was I wasn't bad at it, but I was a better runner because I envisioned myself running like everywhere, like the Great Wall of China. Why not? And places that I have not been able to travel for all reasons, and one of them is I get really airsick, car sick. I have entertained on Amtrak, regular train, Amtrak, ship, and various other locations, and I'm a terrible tourist. I just give it up. So I'd probably like to do that, but I would like to go on. And so we're going to explain a few of these things. So I dismissed this visual of this man, and I did write down what I do remember: blue skies and looking around the absence of other people. I later thought perhaps it was like the solitude of a house in the country, or perhaps he was taking a hike or riding a bike. Now, I have people in my family that are ultra bike people. Why not? Whatever your heaven is ultimately what you can have. Now, that's not saying you're not going to be around family. I want to bring up, and this will come up later on, that I do readings from people around the world. And I have a client and her husband in Italy that I'm quite fond of because they have a lot of family. And we do video, and the minute she says something, I attach myself to her and go to their children who live in the United States. We're talking 2 or 3 seconds. If I can fold time and distance, and I'm just a human being, can you imagine what spirit people can do? It's virtually impossible to think they have no limitations. Now, why am I excited and why am I doing this? I want people to realize that we do survive. I wish I had the knowledge I have today in the years of turbulence when I was unhappy, because I thought this was all there was, and I was not being punished, but it was my lot. This is what was going to happen because I got married in '67. Women's rights, women's privileges. No, I'm not a Me Too or a woke group. It was just that time. Generations change. And I come from a time that I just didn't have any rights. Nor nor is that what my point was. The point was is that when I decided I want a career, I chose art first. And the college I wanted to go to was in San Francisco. And the college that I wanted to do was paint. Of course, it'd be outdoors in the rain. I wanted to paint billboards along the freeway. Yes, believe it or not. I thought that would be great fun. It would open doors to do other things. They didn't allow women. And so we look at our lives and what we would have done if we had all the choices in the world. So so that was that. And yes, I was with somebody who was going to get married, but that wouldn't stop me. I could go to college, billboards in the community we were living in. It was a very good career path, and I would have loved it. So there I was, Anyway, the individual who survives a near-death event will often be told as they approach a crossing over moment. And I've heard, and you'll see if you watch the near-death experiencers on YouTube, they come to a bridge, they come to a river, they come to a passing. And a lot of times before they get to the place where they could cross over, they come up to a point and they can see their family, everybody's waving. Oh, we're just so happy to see you. Wonderful, wonderful. The terrain is gorgeous, gorgeous. And I'll explain that too. And then someone will look at them and say, you know, you have to go back. But if they could just take that one more step, they could stay there. And it's actually kind of amazing to me, the people have talked to me about their death experiences and those on YouTube. I won't say if you've had it or your mother or somebody who you love, that a lot of them don't want to come back until they're reminded. And I watch a few of young women who had near-death experiences from a difficult childbirth. And when they're reminded, hear that? Reminded that they have a newborn or they have young children or they just opened the door to a wonderful career path, don't you want to pursue that? Then they have to reconsider and they do come back. But if it's going to be difficult, they are warned. We expect you to go back, you have unfinished business. Oh, that's right. But they warn you if it's an accident or if there's stroke or there's other issues going on, that it will be difficult. And you're willing to do that because of what you left behind. So there's a lot of times they've been told, and I have been told, that they got to a place, a point. Now, when you first pass over, and I've watched these and have people tell me, I actually had a lady tell me that she had nothing, but she had a sense that she was somewhere. And that was about the same time frame. I can't remember what her problem was. She was a little bigger girl. She might have had a diabetic episode or something like that. Can't remember. But she had a terror thing going on. And it was like she didn't see anything and she didn't know she didn't have her eyes open, but there was terror in her experience. I think that's the only one I can remember. I probably should go back and see if I had that because that might be interesting. I didn't keep them all. I didn't make copies of all of them, but that was an interesting one. And I suspect she didn't open her eyes because it was too terrifying. And I do mention this later on in all these writings. I got 11 pages. I not covered all tonight. Um, and this is not a discredit to any religious affiliation. I did marry a Catholic. I went through the whole ceremony, high noon, mass, wedding. And people who are in the Catholic belief system believe that we go to the grave and we wait for resurrection day. Yet when I was getting married, there were spirit people walking around in there. And I remember thinking, how odd is that? And one guy was tormenting, taunting us and going like this, you know, how you, na, 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 like this. And I remember thinking, I can see him now. He had light colored clothes on, medium build, probably 140, 50 pounds, 5'8", 5'9". And I remember thinking, I wonder who he belongs to and why he's in there. And here he was in a Catholic church. I thought, oh, he's in the wrong place. I don't get this. Okay, so a lot of times they'll come to a point and, oops, and they're told they have to go back. And a lot of times they're very, very disappointed. You cannot cross over. It's not your time. These individuals may not get the grand tour of the afterlife. They may see a snippet of it. They could even experience the tunnel event. And a lot of people do. Not everybody does. I had a young girl die of leukemia, and a portal opened up right above her bed, and there was an angel being, because she was young, took her hand and took her to the other side, and all I could see was a picnic area park. So there was no tunnel. It was right there. I went to a home where a suicide boy had it happened. And the tunnel I saw was almost like a complete portal. And Sue and I reached up, and 5'4" now, but 5'5". I couldn't touch the top of it. And the sense of seeing the boy go through it was instantaneous. So there's ways that this can happen. If the been a tunnel that was in it, then linked, we didn't feel it. Felt like, and the minute he went over was within 2 or 3 minutes, it dissolved and just. And Sue on the other side, she's 5'9" something, and she put her hand up and she felt it. I'm showing my hand here. She felt it collapse in. So it's very quick. Now he already died. He killed himself. So he went immediately. So that was a rescue. That's another show. um, these individuals may not get the grand tour of the afterlife, but they could experience the tunnel effect. I just said that. A blackness involving to the tunnel. Now, many times I've heard people say, when I passed over, I was floating in darkness. Not sure what that is. It could be the tunnel event. They had the sense of people being around them. Then they saw a light, and the light went to light, or the light got bigger. You know, it seems like I've read a lot, Melvin Morris, Jeffrey Long, of the people that talk about near-death experiences and reincarnation of children, and the Brian Weisses, and just on and on, Raymond Moody, um, those who deal with this on many different levels. And it seems like there's a sameness and there's a difference. I've seen people fall out of bicycles. I've seen people fall out of the bed. I saw a man wake up from a coma floating 2 or 3 inches, about 5 or 6 inches off his body. And he woke up, he lifted his head up, and his wife and daughter, or whoever was sitting around him, and the dead people, they said, "Well, you come with us?" And he just rolled his feet over and stood up, like that. And they were there to take him. But that was a death. And I've seen that a lot. And people say to me, who's there taking care of grandpa or the elderly person, the person's dying of cancer, whatever. And a lot of times those spirit people stand right there. "Can you hear me?" I says, "She's yelling at him." "Oh my God, she was yelling at him all the time. And she's still yelling at him." And he said, "A spirit person? She's a spirit person?" I said, "Yeah, she's yelling. I'm trying to get his attention. He won't look at her." And I've seen him hold hands. And then you'll hear from, there's about 3 or 4 ladies that do hospice nursing. And they'll say that the spirit person will be reaching hours before they die. Or Bill Gates, is it Bill Gates that died of pancreatic cancer? He was saying, "Oh, wow. Oh, wow, wow, wow." What was he looking at? Was it Bill Gates, everybody? Help me out here. Just thought of that real quick. Anyway, he died of pancreatic cancer, and his final words were, "Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow." So people are seeing what we don't know always. But I do see the spirit people standing right there, waiting, touching their hand. Char, didn't I say that to you? Someone was near your mom.
Yes.
Seems like I remember telling you that
Yes.
someone was next to mom. I can't remember who it was. Was it her sister or mom or somebody?
Probably her
Anyway,
mom, yeah.
that's who mom will see for her mom. Usually that person that's trying to get the dying person's attention is the one that's touching their. I've seen a mom, a woman, bent over, little tiny thing from aging, and Papa's sitting in the chair and she's patting him on the hand. It's like, "Hurry
Well, I
up,
know.
honey, I'm waiting for you."
I know my dad was looking off to the right with his eyes. So
Yeah,
someone was either standing there
yeah.
or in the doorway. But he was looking off to the right, yeah.
Was it his mother? Did he ever say?
I'm thinking it
Seems
was,
like
yeah.
a mother.
Yeah.
I think
But whatever it
I'm
was,
kind of
instead of
picking up sound like
looking straight, yeah, instead of looking
a mother
straight
figure.
ahead, he definitely was looking to the right.
Yeah, a lot of people see somebody. Yet, Fran died, and all she saw was sparkles going across the ceiling. She didn't really see anybody until a few hours before she died. She saw the essence of people all around her, which is way cool, way cool.
Right.
And
Right.
so the last words of my mother before she went into coma, she says, "I'm off to the next great adventure." Thanks, Mom. That was wonderful. So she believed in this wholeheartedly, and she was excited. Was it? And so I hope I am strong enough to be able to do that for my children. Not strong enough, but conscious enough, whatever. Um, so the blackness is something I've heard, and you should not be afraid. Just go float and go, "Oh, I'm going to relax in this until the sun," because nothing lasts like that. For some reason, some people see that, and I do feel, and I'm not criticizing that. Your religious background does affect how you will see things. Whether you're of the persuasion that 40 virgins will meet you, that's something I don't know. I'm not a medium of those people, right? Or you'll see a rabbi of the greatest level. And sometimes you don't know until that's their turn, because that's the greatest desire. The thing that kind of surprises me is that the youngest of children, sometimes we'll see figureheads of whom the parents believe in. Like you'll get a 3 and 4-year-old describe Christ. And now, how would they know that? That's really great. I told you of the boy that um, was on a train when he first passed over. Now, how does that happen? He didn't get the tunnel. He just woke up on a train. And everybody was getting off at different places. And he looked over and he saw animals. He went, "Oh, I'm going to get off here." And he got off, and this big man in a white robe talked to me, really big guy. And the boy said, "I want to be here." He says, "You can't say this is the animal heaven." Yet I've heard of animals being in the regular heaven too. So it's kind of like,
Mhm.
did this boy create that visual? But he came back and reported it. And everybody was, wow, like he described somebody that mom and dad believe in. It wasn't of a different religious group. It was that group. And I do believe that religion is important for family, community, for all the reasons that bring out on our faith. So I'm for every religion. Um, uh, okay, I got it. I was I was scrolling while I was talking. All of a sudden, the page has gone up, and I forgot where I was. Okay, let me go down here. Eventually, they'll go to a meeting spot of either a family member or their uh, divinity. So if they believe in angels, they're going to see angels. They believe in the Buddha or Christ figure or Zen or whoever. Sometimes we'll see that person, and you think about it, how the people that die a day, pretty busy afterlife, right? Um, if a completed life, the greeters are often at the bedside or a situation of soul leaving the body. Doesn't matter where you are, even if it's a car accident. I have been privileged to have family members who trust me to talk about their kids who have committed suicide or some terrible incident that kills them. And then I describe the family member standing around. And like, oh my gosh, how did you? And I says, listen, I just accept that either I'm going to see somebody or I'm not going to see somebody. And if you recognize that person, that's who needed to be there. That's what's happened. Many times clients have asked about a dying individual, and I'll say a deceased family member will be taken to them or touching their hand attempts to get recognized. So at the time of passing, they will look for the anticipation of thinking of that person. So if Char's father was seeing his mother at the last, he'll have her in his mind. So when the soul steps out of the flesh, he'll be looking for that person. And that's our way of getting back into that environment, and it's safe. No one dies without greeting. And I've said this to people, and some of you may have it's hard to hear, but I had a client in New York call me at 8:30ish. And he just called earlier because 3 hours difference, and he was yelling into the phone, "We've been attacked, been attacked." And so the second tower hadn't come down yet. And when I was watching it, I can't remember the time, maybe 7:30. I can't remember everybody. And I just felt, or I watched a recording of it, and this was kind of weird. So flow with this. I felt a woof feeling as though the angels of the heavens all rushed in, and the family members at the last moment. And I felt this wave go in and a wave leaving. Took my breath. Took my breath. It was like, like this. How can I do that? How can I feel that? Well, when you are watching this video, you're looking at me, and we judge constantly. Who is he? You're looking at me, and so over distances, you have. Oh, she doesn't look too bad. You're not spooky looking. Just think of me as grandma, and I'm a hugger, and so I'm not frightened. I'm easy to be around, and so you go, oh, I'll relax it. We all do this day in and day out. I have something that's going to be delivered, hopefully not during the show. They'll come to the door and they'll judge me. Now she's somebody I can talk to. My husband will actually get the door. But what I'm speaking to is that we unconsciously do this, and we watch TV. And so even the most popular stars that we watch, um, we see them, we put our mind to them. And so we're always getting bombarded by other people's thoughts and actions. So when I do a reading, because I've been doing this long, I was born this way, I was doing this a long time. I move my life force out and back again. So watching the towers aflame and seeing that second plane, whether it was a recording or not, if it was recording, I still felt the action. Put my mind to that area. The energy of the angels or spirit people rushing in to get those people and pulling them back all at once. It was almost like the breath was taken from me. And I didn't tell anybody for a really long time because, at some point when you're doing what I do and it's early in, acceptability in the world because I started in 90. It's like, do I share this? Oh, Nancy, you're going to be mocked. And it was really hard. I still have the hard time with the word the psychic. When I was growing up, the word psychic was somebody who was strange and weird and in a circus. Fortune teller people come up to you, oh, I've entertained a lot at events. Oh, you're the fortune teller. I go, oh man, oh. Let me describe the dead relatives and see if they think I'm a fortune teller. Right. So anyway, it was a long time before I started really being out and risking just so I could tell the truth on things. Okay. Um, Please understand I am stating this as seen on near-death experiences, videos, and from my clients who state such of who they see it at death. In some cultures, I could see a different reason, as that in a state they have to prove their worthiness to proceed to the afterlife of their choice. There's some cultures where, in the Gypsum years, they had their soul. What movie was it? It was a movie where someone died and your heart could weigh no more than a feather. And if you weren't a pure person, then you would not go into the afterlife. A beast would come and eat you. I can't remember what movie it was, but I think it was something that was believed. And so whatever you feel, that's what you'll experience, unfortunately. Now let me explain what troubles people the most. At death, their loved ones appear different, cold, and without the electrical force of the living. When my grandmother died, it was in Auburn, California. It was August of '86. And I had two ladies who were church people, ladies. And Wilma and the other gal, oh my goodness, they sang a lot. And so they would go over and sing to my grandmother. And this afternoon, one day, I was headed over at 5 o'clock. And they had finished singing at 4:45. I imagine they were singing well, and everybody could hear. It was a part of the wing of the care center where people who were in transitional stages. And so these church ladies would go and sing. And they're about ready to leave, and they say, Nancy's coming at 5. Now is your time if you want to. Go ahead and leave. And she died right then, within a minute. So when I went there, she was already cold within 15 minutes. And two young people were looking at Bobby. Of course, she had gone blind from glaucoma when she was 77, and she was 86. And it was a shock to me because I hadn't gotten to this yet. But I held her hand and I could feel her because this is what I am. I'm born this way. I could feel her over my left shoulder. And I said, Bobby, you've suffered enough, honey. Why don't you go look for your son, my father? My father died in 1955. And I says, you've suffered enough. Please go find him. And she whooshed right by my head. I was just, I didn't know why she was there. I don't know who greeted her, but I felt her. It was so strong because it was so fresh. She was so right then out of her body. But because mobility issues, she laid so still in the bed that she had bed sores. And it's tough. It's tough. So by the time I got her in 15 minutes later, she was not the same. That's the same. The true self of that self, SELF, of that person is not in the body anymore because the human flesh is unable to hold it. The electrical force that holds it to the flesh is no longer of electrical charge for the soul to keep connected. Now, soul is keenly aware it is not bound to the body. Instant, unbound freedom and can commute. So what I'm trying to say is I kind of messed up on the words there. Now, soul comes to the body. It can go into the fetus if it wants to experience the womb, or it comes right at birth. And the electrical charge of the flesh holds it. When there's a disruption, near-death experience, or death itself, or some way where your heart takes a jolt, the soul can leave. But yet, how many times have people said to me, Nancy, I see you came to visit last night, but I know you're home. So I have left my body, but I think it's the essence of us. The actual soul is in the flesh and stays there unless it's disrupted, and then it can leave. And I want to touch on that because I feel like this is an important thing most people think about. When the body dies, how come the soul doesn't die too? Because it's also electric.
Right.
And I'm going to explain that right now. Um, now the soul is keenly aware of it being bound to the body because of electrical forces. When that stops and it moves away from it, it will instantly feel, as reported near-death experiences of people who were in the hospital bed and the heart had to be stopped, heart-lung surgery or brain surgery. There's some well documented that the spirit has left the body. So when the body is shut down, the electrical forces are stopped to be able to have surgery. Those spirits are out of the body and they're traveling all over the hospital visiting everybody. And you'll hear people say, this gentleman had a heart attack in his home, and the wife jumped on his chest and pound, 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 right? And before
Right.
the 911 came, the man slipped out of his body and rose to the top of the ceiling. And he looked around, and all of a sudden the ceiling disappeared, and he could look forever, and he could look and see all around him instantaneously. And when they had him come back, he was so not disappointed, but he couldn't believe how free he was, how bountiful um, the excitement of being free of the confines of flesh. As many of you have heard, which I'm not positive because I can't believe of the trillion billion planets out we have in our total universe, we're the worst one to live at. No, but we're certainly not the most civilized. And we do have the confines of heavy flesh. But spirit people have said to me, they want to come back because of the flesh, because it's heated. And I tell you, kissing babies, I had two little great grandbabies, and I tell you, kissing them, I get to do that this weekend, Tuesday, and I I know why people want to come back. I had a guy want to come back just to have coffee. I had somebody said they misses eating, and it's amazing the people who tell me they want to eat. I don't have any connection to eating. It just never, just I'm not one of those, but I know a lot of people love to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and they miss it so much they come back. Um, when touching a spirit, it is of a faster, softer, humming electrical charge. So, human electricity, which is slower and a heavier pulse, like that of the heart, will stop dissipating that electricity at death. So the pulse of the heart, boom, boom, stops. The inside, the soul, is of an energy created by the divine or the Big Bang, whatever you want to believe in. And it's a softer, continual hum, like that. When I touch
Mm-hmm.
it, it makes me tingle all over. Now, that's not the same as when you rub your hands and then you move it out trying to touch it. Because once you do this and rub your hands, move your fingers apart for those who are listening, because I know RSS there, move it 4 or 5 inches. Do it again. You can eventually get out a foot or more. That's not the same thing. When I put my hand or a spirit walks through me or some kind of interaction goes on, it's a complete thickness, humming, electrical charge. Um, that's different. That survives the electricity being shut off in the flesh. And then, honey, you spread your arms and go, I am free. Thank goodness. Get out of this. And that's what keeps going. And I will address this. Um, the soul sensing the dimming larger factor of life. So when the
Mm-hmm.
sensing of the electrical force is dimming, that's what I'm speaking of, can leave the flesh like sleeping above the body or traveling about visiting family, which you've heard near-death experiencers in the hospital will go down the corridor and they'll see everybody
Mm-hmm.
crying. And one gal was in emergency room, her heart stopped, and the father was wanting something out of the vending machine and kicked it. And she told him about it. Can you imagine what his response was? How did you watch me kick? machine. No one else saw me. No one else saw me do something illegal. Kicking the vending machine. Yeah, I got caught. Oh my God, that meant my daughter was alive. How do you deal with that? How do you process in your brain? You will take it, but you won't listen to it. Um,
Right.
so these stories are abound when you go to watch near-death experience, trauma in the ER. Oh, hello, wonderful stories. I want to talk about another incident. How many of you seen videos of the cat that lives in the hospital? And the cat seems to pick who's going to die next and will jump on the bed near the feet and sit there and wait. Well, it's not magic. We human beings have an aura about us. And one, I was doing a big convention in Sacramento. I can't remember. I'm going to get in trouble with this. It was in the 2000s. And I was in a conference and I was talking, and a couple of people approached me. The gentleman first, he says, when you got excited and you were about ready to read the audience, your aura went, oh, wow, really big. And I tell people, please do some exercise and get fit before you do what I do so that you have the energy to do this. And that was a 3-day event. And I was doing talk every day, and I was talking and giving readings, yet I still bellowed up. Now, everybody can do that. I know it's part of what makes me who I am. Well, if I'm laying in bed dying, my lights will dim. So the cat's looking around. Oh, everybody's shiny. Everybody's got those pretty lights all around them. Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
that person in that bed is gray to me. There's a little life force left, but I'm going to stick around. Maybe the cat is aware of that transitional coming sooner by the diminishing lights that are around them. Now, people say to me, Nancy, do aura readings? Listen, I can step into somebody and go in time, blah, 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 blah. So that's not the first thing I would do, but I was asked to do aura photography readings in Phoenix, Arizona when someone got ill. And I went, well, why not? I'm game for everything for the first time. I found I could. How could I do that? Because a picture had the person. I stepped into the person. The density of the lights that are colored like red is heavy. And I could feel the emotion of that. So I've stepped into the motions first. Stepping into people, I can see time. It was successful. So, to me, the diminishing of a light or color means something versus the density and the denseness of hue. So the cats can do that. How many cats have been looking around your house? There's a video out of 3 cats on the countertop all looking at the ceiling. I wonder who they're looking at,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the spirit comes in and shows the lights, and the cats go, wow, look at that. Cats are wonderful. I've seen my cats look around. We have a pet here. I don't know if my husband said it was a dog or cat, but we have a couple of people that live here with us. And, they look around like, who are they? I love it. I love this. Remember, they're just people. They're not ghosts. They're spirits. Spirit people are just people as long as they're nice. I don't mind. If they get nasty or smart with me, I just don't allow it. I said, you want to live here? You be mind the rules of the house. So that's a house. The cat who is part of a hospital that travels from bed to bed, sensing death of occupant in each particular room. I suggest that cats can see auras and the dimming of patient's life force. So with that, just because the heart is slimming down, getting quieter, doesn't mean the soul is affected. Okay, there's no electrical charge. It's just pure energy. Big difference. The electrical force of soul is never ending. When there is no heart to create the electrical force as a body will, that is felt. Put your hands together. I already did that. The entrapment of soul to the flesh is released. Very easy, everybody. How did I come to this? Well, I did talk about this before. So I'm trying to prove something so we can go on to what they see. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to go into a lot. As a cemetery tourist, I've said this 4 or 5 times. Yes, I know it gets boring. Sacramento Cemetery, and part of the reason I was able to capture as many people, it was fun stories. And John Betancourt checked every one of them out, and he must have been good enough because I did it for 6 years, 4 or 5 a year. Um, is that as in the cemetery tours, I would it worked better on cooler nights. Dead middle of summer, 110 in Sacramento is a little harder because we're all kind of sweaty and uncomfortable. But in the cooler evening, so 8 and 9 o'clock, even the summertime, it got cool enough. This was better. It was surprising to me how many spirit people would show up. They enjoy getting the acknowledgement. And if I had a nice little area and I saw 2 or 3 spirit people, this one spirit man, he wasn't standing next to a tree about 2 feet out. He was um, a girthy guy. And I went, oh, you're perfect. Would you stand there? And his hands went up like he's going to get shot. Well, oh, you want me to stand still? Okay. And this rolls into the story I was going to tell. There was a couple ladies that showed up together. And unbeknownst to me, they didn't tell me because I don't want to know. I didn't know that one was dying. And she was dying of pancreatic cancer. And that testimonial is at my website, nancymatzpsychic.com. Go to testimonials. It's huge. People don't write anymore. You'll have to go down until you find that letter. But it's the woman talking about her friend dying of cancer. And she brought her friend. It's wonderful. It makes you cry. It's so amazing. I didn't do anything. I was just an instrument. And when I told the audience, I said, put your hand up. Who wants to be picked? Because I'm not going to embarrass somebody. And I'd find somebody and I'd hold on to the wrist and I said, would you feel the air? What are you feeling? Oh, it's air, so on and so forth. And I says, now slap it. Feel the tingle. That's your life force. And I'd walk them over by holding their wrist, and I'd put their hand right into the middle of this guy, and he would stand there and just grin like, ah! But the living people, oh my God, their eyes got big as saucers. Oh my God, there's something there. And you're not standing next to a tree. You're not standing next to an electrical post. It's right there. Right there. The look on their faces. And this one woman, I remember the woman who was not ill. The woman who was ill, it's kind of like I was touching so many people that night. Sometimes it gets blurry. But the woman died a few weeks late. And so the woman wrote this. And so I took the risk, and these people experienced a slight electrical charge, softer, faster than ours. I wanted to give evidence to those who are scientific or clinically minded individuals to understand and feel spirit. Because I think we get stuck on the idea that the heart beats, our muscles create, the mass of our muscles create electricity. If that dies, how and what is the soul? That's eternal energy. That is not electricity. Big difference, everybody. Big difference. So one such proof, and I told you about the letter to me after the cemetery of the dying friend, and it's at my testimonials, nancymatzpsychic.com. And I'm just going down because I've already talked about it. And I did mention, I said, lift your hands if you wanted me to grab it. And of course, the woman was dying, put her hand up. But the woman who's standing to her left, her hand went like this. And I went, oh. So the dying friend thought I just arbitrarily picked her. I don't know that I didn't, but I did pick her of that one group. The soul is never ending, yet it can absorb more of the life force from us to juice up. So how many of you gone somewhere and you hit a cold spot? Well, that spirit, oh man, you're all juiced up. Oh, that spirit says, oh, I get a little charge from that. I can carry around a little more juice. And they can take from you. Sorry about the cat. If he jumps up on the tabletop here, I'll make sure. No. So sometimes when you do a ghost investigation, you will pick these individuals up, but also be aware that you could be exhausted by the end of the evening because you're the only thing in the old building, old sanitarium or old house or wherever you go, and everything is cold and old, yet you come in all fired up, they're going to take a bite. Yep. And sometimes poltergeist activity, and they will do that. If they are, we're kind of bridge here a little bit between what's called the healthy spirit versus someone who's been stuck for a while, someone who's unhappy with their flesh life, and there's no way to resolve it. I'm going to go on and talk about that. And sometimes if you don't give them sympathy, compassion, talk to them, release I'll forgive you for whatever you've done. You want to go through all those steps, or they're already on the verge of sanity. They will suck a lot of energy off of you to be able to poltergeist something. Now we know that prepubescent young ladies, those are going through a lot of turmoil. Yes, we can create energy and get things shooting all over the house. What I'm talking about is a true poltergeist spirit that has on the verge of becoming insane, and they will do things because they are needy. I also want to point out, after all these years, I do believe that soul is interdimensional. When I spoke earlier of how I travel around the world, talk to people, I don't do email readings. I had a couple ladies collaborate and they used me up and abused me one time doing some readings. And so I only have a few, and one of them is Singapore, China. And when I do readings in mail, it makes no difference if it's across town or clear across the world. I describe her house. I know what her boyfriend to husband looked like before he
Hmm.
showed up, on and on and on. Doesn't matter. I am interdimensionally traveling. There is no way my mind, think about this, could go, well, remember Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, from California, Pacific Ocean, around past Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia. That's kind of low, but I'm trying to give you a distance to Singapore. I interdimensionally fly. If I can do it, a lonely human being move my life force around, what in the world can spirit people do? Oh my gosh, absolutely. They're interdimensional. I'm not positive. I've heard people give a lot of different theories. A theory of walk-ins. I don't know. People speak to me of Nancy, when you're doing the psychic readings, your vocabulary is better. Or maybe I speak better. I take my time, but I shift a little bit. It's noticeable. Am I
Hmm.
channeling from a different dimensional space? Am I going to Akashic records, or am I just traveling to that individual and stepping into their time? My belief is I'm stepping into people's time. I become the person by becoming part of what they are. It's tiring, yes. But I believe we're all interdimensional. I think that we're finding out. We're going to find out our brain is just a mechanism of portal triggers. If you want me to go back to your childhood, you send me to that place in your mind that has a memory. I cannot read your mind. I cannot step into a spot in your brain and see people and tell you what happened when you were 4, but I can in time. So I think we're more interdimensional, that quantum stuff that I don't know anything about, but I'd love to learn more. I'm really interested in that. But I think spirit can do it and does do it. Spirit people have told me that they travel from planet to planet, clear across the known universe, or maybe they go to the, excuse me, restaurant at the end of the universe. I would love to see the boundaries of our universe and the boundaries of the beginnings of other universe that we bump up against. I think there's so much out there. It's hard for a human being of our limited intelligence and acceptability of this to
Hmm.
understand what eternity is or the boundless of forever. Almost hurts just to think about it. This I also believe that souls are interdimensional entities that can travel instantaneously from one time zone to another and into the future. This has been proven to me directly as I've been shown yet to be born. Just 2 days ago, I had a young lady. She says, "Well, Nancy, I am pregnant," and I had told her before like September, October, that she would be pregnant this summer enough that she would be able to show and tell everybody that she is now pregnant. And she is. She's 7 weeks as of today, I think it is. And then so with that, I gave a lot of visual what this child will look like. Oh, he's going to be so cute. The little chubettes that they come in and they got little rolls all over the body. I am truly a grandmother. Um, and so I can describe children yet to be born and that I needed to go back to be there for them. I guess I would say that I'm entering a dimensional rift in their time and going forward. One time I thought that when I entered time and it was a future event, I slipped and slid all around the sun, around our earth, zip, 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 all around the sun, zip, zip, zip. And so I was traveling bazillion miles. In reality, I think that time is a slinky, a circular motion in front of us of unused life. of life that you haven't lived yet, but I have access to. And that to me makes me realize that we're so interdimensional. It's so beyond what is a conversation over dinner. You have to think about it. And I think about this in my engineering background. I think about things every day because I was taught during engineering. You can't make mistakes. You can't make mistakes. And I'm an artist, so I look at detail, which has helped me describe people. Um, okay, I want to keep going. So with that, back up here, this improved me directly is shown. Um, so when you talk of the future, when I had my death experience, and I tell people it was really, I've never talked about it, brought it up a year ago, and it was so short, but yet time in the afterlife is indistinguishable from a minute to an hour to a day. And
Mhm.
I was in bed. I had had my tonsils out. I was 7. I was a very frail child. My mother gave me an aspirin. Well, during the night, something happened. And the first thing I remember is holding a lady's hand. And I told you before, I was a small child. Wouldn't believe by looking at me. I'm 5'4" 5'4" probably now. And I remember looking up at her and thinking that she was a giant. Like, I don't remember holding my mother's hand and thinking that. My mother was a very slight woman. And she had white on. And I'm thinking, well, what is this about? And it was, remember I said if you're exposed to TV and movies, but we didn't have a TV and I didn't watch movies. I was 7, lived my little tiny world, going to school, first grade or whatever it was. And she says, you cannot come with me. And I remember thinking, I don't want to. What makes me think I want to go with you? I don't know who you are. And she said, you have to go back because of them. And she pointed, and it looked like we were in clouds. And it was right in a hole in the cloud. And I looked down and I saw 2 little kids playing at a fountain. And the fountain was in front of the house I lived in. So these spirit people, whoever these 2 kids were, I had to go back for them. Now, as dark as I am, I was that dark as a 7-year-old. My sister at 6 was white haired. You can't get more blonde than my sister. Takes after the Nordic side. Father was Nordic. Mother was not. She was the dark. Uh, we had my grandmother's family Indians, and I got the darkness from her, and I look like it. But on DNA, ancestry 1, 2, 3, they'll have to wait another 100 years for this to show up on a count. So very interesting. And I remember thinking, I don't want to go with this lady. And who are those people? Well, if you've had near death experience, you will realize you will never forget every little detail and how I thought. It's so real to me. It's just amazing. I don't know who that lady was. I assume now at this time she was a grandmother kind of woman. And she had
Mhm.
clothes on like you would see in the 50s. But when I had this experience, I was 7, and it was the 50s. So maybe the 40s. I don't know who she was. Um, I've seen enough through Eyes of Spirit and stories on YouTube, Spirit, when I've talked to family members. YouTube, a movie you can see visually of some truthfulness of their existence is the movie with Timothy Hutton, 1987, Made in Heaven. I
Yes.
like this movie. It was well received. It probably is on YouTube. Made in Heaven, 1987. Um, Kelly McGillis is in the movie. He dies and he goes to heaven and he meets a young woman. And Kelly McGillis was just a charming, beautiful woman in '87. And they fall deeply in love. And they move to a cottage in the countryside. And what I want you to pay attention to, yes, it's real, but it's overly beautiful. It's exquisite. It's everybody's dream home. If I could live in the country in that house, it's small but beautiful. And that's how I'm shown. Um, I have too many stories. There was a story of somebody who passed over as a man, and he didn't live with his mother and father. He lived with an aunt, and she was very eclectic, and she had artwork all over the house. And why he went to her house, I can't remember, but I remember thinking it was odd. but he loved her for her quirkiness. And so in the afterlife, he chose to go to her house. It was very fun. So Timmy Hutton goes there, he falls in love, and then he's told that Kelly McGinnis has never been born before, and that her time in heaven was coming to an end. And so he objects. He doesn't want that, and she disappears. And in fact, she gets up in the morning knowing that's the day. And I think she wrote him a note. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie. And he goes to God. If you see the movie and see who God plays God, it's his actual wife in real life. And I've forgotten who it is. And they have this deep conversation. And God says, I'll tell you what, I'll send you back. I'll give you 30 years to find her. If you do not, then you will live out your life, and then that's it. If you find her, you get to love her for the rest of your life. And of course, I'll ruin it for you. Of course, they wouldn't have a movie where you don't meet each other. And how many of you have gone in your life and you're walking down the street or you go a meeting or you go somewhere and you all of a sudden you meet somebody and you feel that instant connection? Cannot explain it. That's a pre-life acknowledgement of someone you've already known before or had life with. And that's happened to me a lot. Not that I have been around the block, everybody, I don't know. But somehow there may be people that come back in each other's life. Edgar Casey believed, and I've read all 9 of his original books, that we incarnate with the same groups of people, but take on different roles. And I do believe that. Because sometimes when you meet somebody, is it the vibration of the sameness of the trials and tribulations a soul that will go through? Well, I recognize you because you've been through the same kind of that I have. Maybe. Oh, you're an artist? Yes, I feel that within you too. I can also recognize people who have the gift. They feel different to me. I can also tell when people have dreams that come true because they'll show me one. They go, oh my gosh, you just had a dream. Tell me about it. How did you know? Well, duh, right? There's another movie that really impressed me. Lovely Bones, a 2009 movie of a young girl that's murdered. She's like 12 or 13. And she's murdered by the serial killer who lives across the street. And the older sister starts paying attention to this man's lifestyle and movement. And ultimately, she tells the dad, Wahlberg, and he's married to Rachel Weisz, and he goes after him. And of course, the serial killer leaves town, and he pays the ultimate price. But in all of this, the serial killer, and I haven't watched it for 10 years probably. I don't know how long it's been, a long time. And there are 7 or 8, 9 kids, young girls that he's murdered. So when she first passes over, she's greeted by one of the girls. And after time, she meets all of them. And the landscape is breathtaking. It's just unbelievably beautiful. That's what I get shown over and over. And that same kind of landscape, the beauty of it takes your breath away, was the same kind of landscape that Robin Williams encountered in Dreams, What Dreams May Come. In that setting, his wife is an artist. And instead of recreating a new environment, he creates that he's to live in a heaven of her paintings. It's absolutely breathtaking. If you watch Lovely Bones, which is a tough topic, hard, landscape is worth it. Kelly McGinnis and Timothy Hutton on the landscape and how the dynamic of choosing. There's a couple in Sacramento, long time, 10, 15 years ago, they lost a 16-year-old son. And I've talked to the wife off and on. And I went over to the house one day, and I did a couple of times to talk to them, but the son showed up. And so I walk in the front door, and on the other side of the room, he's standing next to a car. And on the inside, there's a girl on either side. There's a blonde on one side, and there's a brunette on the other side. And he said to me, tell my mom and dad that I'm in love. He'd never been in love before. It was a couple, 2 or 3 years after he had passed away. And I went, how do I think that? And so I told them, and he had never been in love. And for some reason, the way I worded it, or as I described the vehicle, or what he was wearing, something, they knew I could not have made it up. You can have love in the afterlife. You don't stay in a visual of your creation like what dreams may come or lovely bones. You have total freedom after recovery time. There was a lady that lived in Auburn, and she had a 95-year-old mother living with her, mother-in-law. And unbeknownst to me, before she died, she told her, her name is Jenny, Jenny, I want to sleep for 95 years. So I went to visit Jenny, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I walked to the house, and I went in the direction of the bedroom, and here was the mother in spirit on a pedestal bed with a pedestal laying out with a big purple satin bedspread. And in the afterlife, there's what we call the caretaker, and they're shaped like a bean, a pinto bean. They're a little larger. They're just energy. They're just consciousness. And an angel was standing to one side. And she looked at me and she says, "She wants to sleep for 95 years, 100 years rather, 100 years." And I described what the bed looked like, and Jenny started crying. She took me down the hall, and there was that purple bedspread, satin bedspread. So she took the bedspread into the afterlife. That was her choice. Now she could wake up, but if she wants to sleep for 100 years, then she can do that. Whatever that ends up being in the afterlife. I love that. So what dreams may come was also what I wanted to bring up about the torment that unhealthy spirit can encounter. So we all die, and sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's not planned, sometimes it's not in the end of life, it's at other times. And when you do that, I see and have a perception of self created hell. And sometimes when they say, "Oh, I want to talk to somebody," I get nothing. And I go, "Uh oh." And I look around, I'm trying to see if I see something. And I get the sense, and this is really hard because I don't tell people all the time. What will I say? Oh, they're out of the country out of the time. And they can be. I don't always know. But I have a sense of a mumbling, of a really? Where are you? And they could be anywhere anywhere. And I know that they're working out things, and I call it recovery. It's amazing to me how many people in their life don't acquire, don't take care of, neglect, do things that torment them. And if they don't make amends, they don't say, "I love you," or "I hate you," or "You stole my money from me." They go into the whatever it is. You'll work it out, and it can be a long time.
Hmm.
I've had people say, "I haven't felt that person around me." And a lot of times, the only thing I know how to say, because I really don't know, is that they're a self created environment of recovery. That's the best way of putting it. So, in the end of the movie, the journey that Robin Williams takes, a lot of it is Hollywood. Beautiful, wonderful Hollywood. Where he finds his wife and how she is what I feel happens. So, this terrible situation of Robin Williams and his wife, she's a beautiful artist. Their two children get killed in a car accident. And sometime later, before she can really heal, he's also killed. And we talk about family members coming and taking care of our needs and helping us. And when she went to the cemetery on a hillside and was at his grave, he was so touched by her, he went over and touched her and held her. And instead of wanting that, she recoiled because the grief was so intensified because of her grief and then his also. It almost took her to a breaking point. And shortly after that, she committed suicide. And that is what she felt she failed as a mother and a partner in her life because all these people died and left her. It was not reasonable. And then he said, as a spirit person, my choice is to go back to where everything is wonderful, or I'm going to stay here and help her work it out. And he was cautioned. I've never seen this, but it was part of the movie, that if he walked into her heaven or hell, he would become part of it until she realized. And so he sat down next to her and he became the color and the texture and the environment of her unhealthy mind. And just then she looked at him and went, "Why are you here? Remember I said we have to wake up the people sometimes?
Hmm.
Why are you here? He says, I will not leave you. And that woke her up because she realized where she had put herself. And these bubbles can be all through the universe. We may never know where these people float to or what happens with them. But I do have a sense, and I've had spirit people say to me, we took them back to their childhood of a place and time when there was no fear, no strife, or anger, like a childhood. And I'll see these kids float, fishing, little boys fishing. I've seen little
Hmm.
girls riding their bikes in town. We do not stay. I'm older, but the year that I felt I was a good year was when I was 29. I loved when I was in my later 30s, my middle 30s, early 30s, and when I really did a lot of horse racing, and then I went into running. We will go back to those years to heal, to readjust and get used to and allow.
Hmm.
When we pass over, we know it's final because we were told and we will be taken off and we will recover or instantaneously. A lot of times when they have a great illness, they let us sleep and catch up because when we have no pain, no discomfort, we're laying or relaxing with the man and the quirky aunt. I had a quirky aunt once, and she lived in one of those three-story buildings at H and 13th across from this the music circus. They made an art gallery out of it now, I think, painted black. And I remember walking through it. It's a wonderful memory. She turned it into a boarding house. Remember, this is in the 50s. Uh, and I remember the little windows with the stained glass. And she only rented to men. And she did get married a few times. I think she married them so they could stay there. And then they passed away. And I remember her. I was such fondness. Maybe she'll be there. It's like I get emotional. It was really fun. We stayed there for a while after my father died. Stayed with my grandmother, and we stayed with my aunt and uncle. We were kind of bouncing around a little bit because of life. And to me, it would be healing to see that house again. Maybe I'll go back to 7 or 8 years old, 7 years old, whatever it was. So the calm environment seems to be what's created first. Like calmness, even though it's like this guy, the wife asked about him. He was a hunter. I didn't, and I says, "Oh, I see a bunch of men with sticks, and then I see these large animals standing all around him." And she says, "Oh, those are his two hunting buddies that have died." And then he died, and they died early of different problems because he died of cancer. So this man created his heaven, his first introduction to heaven with these three guys. And it wasn't like they were killing animals. They probably sat around and just talked. Wonderful. I saw a fisherman. I saw a man with a hobby who went back to an age of his childhood, sitting at a desk at a window, very typical of the 40s and 50s. I cannot remember what he was doing, but he was very quiet, going like this. So in the past, not now, but in the past, we didn't have all the electronics or the games and stuff. But we did a lot of model airplanes, train sets, puzzles type of thing. That's what I felt like. Talked to a client, and deceased mom was young again with a deceased friend. They were walking arm in arm in 1940s clothing, shopping in downtown New York. That was their heaven. Char, was that you? Was that your mom
Yes.
I said?
Yeah.
In their heaven, yeah. My husband talked to me one day. We were discussing this, and he casually, and I'm sharing this because it's really amazing to me. He said, "What am I going to be doing?" I went, "Oh, he's asking." I don't know. And all of a sudden, I saw it, and uh, we've been married 21 years, and so I didn't know him early in life. He did do 8 years in the military, which I knew. And all of a sudden, I saw the word Taiwan. And I saw him on a green golf range, 18 holes. And it was just luscious green. And he's playing golf, just having a wonderful time. And I told him this. He says, "Well, that's curious that you would say that. I was My first real experience with golf was in Taiwan. And over the years, I realized it was the most beautiful country, and the golf courses were luscious and green. If I could play, I would go back at it. I went, yay, Nancy. My husband asked me what he's doing in the afterlife, and I got him playing golf. Of course, he's been golfing for over 40 years now. Um, and then we have to address this. Client told me her grandmother watching over them all the time. She feels her grandmother all the time, the scent of grandmother, the children's room. And I said to her, what a greater gift than grandma is with her babies, watching them grow. This grandma has chosen to be a grandma, and this is her heaven. As I've told people, I never learned football, but my son was the one with the ball. He was the one chasing after the guy with the ball. I know now what it is, but those years I didn't. So would my son go back to his high school years? The football jock. He was a he had that heavy Indian hair, really dark and heavy and wavy. Oh, he was tall for that eighth grade, ninth grade, of what year it was. I don't remember. Would he go back to be football? Well, I'm telling you, a lot of football players nowadays probably would. Absolutely. Several times I was shown if someone had lost several family members who had preceded them, a park setting picnic environment. Seen that a lot. Almost like look at the beautiful flowers, look at the sun. We're relaxed, we're sitting on the benches, everybody's sitting in chairs. Oh, look at all my relatives here. Look at this. And what are we having? Oh, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh, yes. Whatever your favorite. I don't eat pizza. I had Kentucky Fried Chicken a week ago, and I thought, ugh, had kind of a stomach ache. But I would risk it again if it was with all my relatives. You know, eat that or pizza. So a woman sitting in nursery, sports with friends. I will be running a path. I'm sure of it after the horse thing. In the garden, I've seen women in the garden. In another testimonial, a woman came. She's an attorney. She said she didn't believe in any of this, and she says, I'm going to give whoever I talk to the ultimate test. Mother, I want you to show me or give me an idea. And the thought of a purple flower, iris was her favorite. Purple flower. I want her to say what. And so I was shown the woman working in the garden because that's what she loved to do. That was her heaven. And she looked up at me and she held up this flower. She says, a purple iris, just what this woman. And that is a testimonial, all written out, very elegantly written, of the purple flower that this woman gave as a test to me. I didn't want to know because it's not pure that way. Um, People in spirit holding grandchildren yet to be. I've seen that a few times. Wonderful. So when the child's born, they will stay with that child as their karmic connection. Though true spirit does not have gender, we keep our latest and last gender as a choice until we decide to be reborn again. Now, why is that? And it's because of the interest of that life. We keep the form to do it again. Family members that have yet not come over, we will stay until the last living person who remembers and misses us. After that, 2 generations, then usually they come back. I've had people tell me this lady, father died upstairs in the hospital. 2 hours later, the son was born. Guess who it was? It was grandpa already. It can be that fast. How many death experiences have you watched on YouTube? And the child said, one little boy's story was on LMN channel. Goes to my child. He said, I jumped out of a window. I was in Cincinnati. I had dark skin. I was a woman. I fell to the ground. And then my next thought is, I'm here with you. And he was a Caucasian boy. So it can be instantaneous. Spirit people have actually told me 25 years and more is more average. So I was talking to a young girl, and she said, I want to go into fashion. And so all of a sudden, this woman showed up, visual of this woman. And I described her, and she says, do you know who you describe? I says, listen, I'm a country girl. I know nothing of fashion. And I had described Coco Chanel. So if you look up when she died, at had it was 25 years. She was 17. Um, Somehow it was 25 years when we were talking. Oh no, it was 25 years after she died. This girl was born, and then you get that, and then you add that 17 years on the death. That's when we talked. 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And the girls are screaming and yell at mom, and that's when I told the girls going to fashion school, and I described Coco Chanel, since Coco Chanel is coming back as this girl to finish up what she didn't accomplish in that life, which is crazy, great. I also believe that spirit can travel. Jason said to me once, I always told you, Sue, right? She's one of my books, and she'd come to me just all huffed. Would you tell Jason he's got to be talking to me? I'm all mad at him. I said, you're mad at your spirit son? And he said, would you tell my mother to stop yelling at me? I said, Jason, where are you? And he showed me a Superman pose of traveling in the universe with your arms up, one, dun, dun, dun. From his waist down, he had firecrackers come out, and he was clear across the known universe. He says, I'm visiting all the planets I want to see. Who am I? I'm just a human being. His mother's a human being. Spirit has more chance to do that. Go for it, kiddo. So I think he was up there doing what he can before it was time for mom to leave. She's still here, so he's probably traveling. I haven't talked to her for a while. I wonder if he's been around. So we do travel to past lives as our vacation, our fun. Visit those whom they have loved before. So you can go to a past life and re-love somebody again as a spirit person. How many times have you been in your home and you're surrounded by love? That overwhelming sense that someone's thinking of you. Who says it's your relatives? Maybe it's somebody from the future coming back and visiting you who they loved. Wonderful thought. Take up and finish the trainer abilities for this past life. I've been told, and learning, I'm learning piano and chess, the things I somehow never got to do. I want to continue running. But if you want to learn how to play piano, you can go back in time and sit with Mozart and play the piano with him. You can go visit Van Gogh and copy or look at how he had a brush stroke. These are the options of the afterlife. And why am I excited? I feel like this is only temporary. The worst thing is I also need to look at my bucket list. At this time in my life, I realize that I have to count the days and weeks and years. I can't Nelly go off and do other things because these projects are important to me. Don't go into your death with regret. That's the number one thing I hear. Understand what love is. And I do. I do understand what love is. If you ever kissed a baby or get hugged by a child at 4 or 5, 6 years old, I understand surrendering to love. Absolutely. I brought up the rest for the LED, the purple bedspread. Yes. Matter reincarnation. Clearly, we as adults can make many detours of interest. Take care of living friends and relatives until time to return, or join the family again at your discretion. If you have problems in the family, I have a lady I talked to, a lot of issues in the family. Sometimes some family dynamics, some cultures are so tight that strife is hard if there's a disagreement, because then everybody in the family is on the same page of discord. Do not let anybody continue that. If it's possible, you can always just say to the person, for my life and who I am as an individual, I do not need the relationship with you to be alive. You have to own that. But make it clear that you'll go on. It's up to them to make it better. But you've decided, okay, just because we're relatives doesn't mean I have to hold your hand and love you every day. You're a jerk. I'm going to go on my life because I have things I have to pursue for my life. I have said for years I did have a sense of my father. Unfortunately, after time, decades and decades now, I forgot what he looks like. I remember hugging him. He was a very slim man. He died when I was 6 years old. And then some years back, I did not have a sense of him anymore. Have not. Sometimes I feel like I can, but it could be that he's sent a little string of ether to life force to me, but I think he's come back. Yes, I could. My mother, I have felt her. I sense her all the time. I talk to my sister, and she's around her all the time. My impression is that he's decided to return, and that's because my family doesn't know him. I have lost some memory of him. My sister was 5, so she also had. So he's free. Now, does that mean he will come and greet me at my death? Maybe he's having a short life. I have no idea. But I feel like he's pursued something of importance for him. For as long as you miss and are yet, for as long as you are missed and desire to see them again, they, the family, will be there for you at your passing. Family members will not return if they are concerned for your well-being. Even if you don't remember, many times people say, "Oh, family, family, family," and then great grandma will show. I go, "Wow, great grandma showed up," and will attempt to give you guidance without taking your free will away. And what I'm talking about is they can talk into your mind, your ear. Be careful of this choice. Be cautious of this individual. But I am really a firm believer, don't you take away whatever free will this person has. Remember, they will continue to give you emotional help for as long as you think and need them. Though we choose a lifetime and show them what we will encounter in that life, we as living humans will not remember those choices. So the little kids on near-death experiences and reincarnation, rather, they'll pick a life, but they'll forget by the age of 7, 8, 9 why they chose that life. They'll say, "I chose you as my mommy," but they also were given a hint on what kind of experiences they are going to encounter. Free will is the anxiety of the choices that you have to make to the end result I can already see. So readings, I'll give the end result of something. And that person will call me, call me, call me. What do I do now to get to the end result? I said, I can't take your free will away. I'm not going to tell you all these steps because they're not given to me. I see the end result. You have to exercise your free will. You're still going to end up there. That's very hard for them to know. I paraphrase that over the years. I forgot exactly what it is. But that was quoted to me by Donna Vasquez in Sacramento, February of 2001. I have friends since we were both 13 years old. And we made an agreement, we just talked about it again, to be there for each other, whichever one goes first. She laughed one day on the heels of one of us saying, "We should make a list of the people we'd like to haunt." Why not? Haunt means negative. I think what she's saying, who's alive that we can visit. But we also are saying things like, who's in the afterlife that we'd like to visit? Or can we enter time? I personally, and I know she's told me, but I've forgotten, um, Abraham Lincoln and Cleopatra. I want to see that bride. I want to see her. She might have been just wonderful. But can you imagine what dynamic personality she must be? Well, look at Abraham Lincoln. He had his lot of good stuff around him. Um, we could go on and on in these possible situations that you can have. The idea is that there's far more to talk about when you're emotionally healthy and you pass over with no regret and no wishing I'd done it different. I wish I had heard that person emotionally. I wish I hadn't beaten my wife. I wish I hadn't robbed the bank. I wish. Do not go into your death. And that's why we have what we call deathbed confessions. It may not be you murdered somebody, but maybe you stole from a relative. Or did you cheat on a spouse? Or did you emotionally abuse a child because you are male and you didn't want a male child surpass you in life? All kinds of situations. Look at your life. Own it. No need to revisit some of what I've stated before in prior shows. I have already, but there's more to talk about. Those of us who pursued a situation of loving a family member, learning what humanity, life, a life of continuing to service others. Um, what we need to do is learn that love is the only thing that matters. Every situation, people come back, it's still love that governs everything. Absolutely. But learning about humanity and people in other places, where we have TV, that's where we have stories we could read. But contributing to the service of others is the next thing that everybody talks about. So when you first pass over, oh, love is everything, that love is composite of everything. We go to the source, the divinity of our belief system. It's just love, love, love. The second thing to talk of, what did you do with your life? Were you of service? Well, I'm on the ultimate service, absolutely. But so are so many people. If you can do something of service to know what it feels like to be on the other end, to help those who are more needy than you, yes, absolutely. So if you had a life of the seven sins, regret or ignorance, or feeling of or compassion, no compassion for others, or breaking the law rules of what you realize of the good, wishing you had amends, etc., you need to come to grips with some of that. Sometimes what clouds our minds of why we selected life, and when in the afterlife you realize that is important. A life is you decide not to fulfill the main reason, is not to fulfill the main reason. Meaning, sometimes we get so clouded by what we think is important, we don't look with true eyes to see what's necessary and what is in your life. Do you pay attention to your children? Did you climb the ladder of success and neglect the wife? Or were you mean and not compassionate those people struggling at work? Compassion is absolute. Love is absolute. Service those people around you is absolute. These detours, failings, or self-interest can someone who has entered the afterlife to be sorrowful and creative diffuse bubble of discontent and eternal retrospective sorrow if cannot resolve quickly. Even with the support of attending spirit family, newly deceased spirit may not heal and then become remorseful, turbulent ghosts, and even insane. That's not bad, Nancy. That's this afternoon. I was typing all afternoon. Whether they do not pass because of what I mentioned just above, meaning into the afterlife, a bubbled environment, they roam in mental discord and not recover. Remember, I was saying about the person who lost his physical identity in the insane asylum? That person became a spirit to a ghost to insanity to losing all remembrance of this life and what they could have looked like. Those people have yet to wake up. How does that happen? How long does it take? Only time to tell. You tear the whole building down, that spirit, the the ball, the corner of that ceiling, that piece of mess, um, will stay there until it wakes up. Uh, thus evolving to a ghost, to insanity, to outright insanity, and giving thus the illusion of a demon. Someone going into that same asylum that was just spoke of, it was Port Orange Paranormal on the East Coast. And someone coming into that first time would look up there and feel that pulsating anger of discord, of failing in his life. You could absolutely think it's a demon. Souls in torment will have a sense of endless torment, of guilt, remorse, anger, creating a self-created entrapment. Even if I could get them to acknowledge me, their energy is so dense as to give me an idea they have turned away from the light of the divine to the darkness of depression. Their landscape is often a closed-in area of a last negative memory they had. It is of violence. If it is of violence, they will live it over and over. I can't imagine. I have heard over and over how greeting spirit of a newly deceased will say all we lived through was chosen, forgiven, forgiving, for even the victim choose to experience the trauma of the event. We cannot handle the idea that people get murdered. Why did you choose that life for that death? Were you, and I don't like that. Don't you write me and tell me your child or my father was killed by a drunk driver. War heroes, Korean war heroes. I'm not going after that family. I did ask, Dad, why did you volunteer for that? Well, I asked to be born into this family, a man that would die. Why do we choose a life? Only God and you in the afterlife will know that answer. If you had a ghost investigation or poltergeist activity of hateful, remorseful ghosts, then not all have passed to enlightenment. And yes, souls can digress to a lower level of vibration and progress. When they've had time to emotionally recover, they decide they want to experience another life to learn not to be swayed or desire these misdeeds. I've had clients ask my guides to tell me what to do. Well, remember they had a life to live. Learn what they wanted. Not all good decisions were made. To have them tell you how to live your life is to have them take charge and live yours. We are given this opportunity to live in a spiritual life as a human with all the love and knocks that come along with it. Life is precious. Don't give it away. I'm done.
Cool. Very good. Very good. I got something to tell you, and I forgot to tell you. I thought of you The other day, I was out driving, and I pulled up behind. Yeah, Nancy likes Volkswagens, Volkswagen Beetles,
I've always had a Volkswagen. Not this year. Yeah.
and I was driving, and I came behind. I pulled up behind Herbie. It was painted like Herbie, and it was fairly new paint job because it looked really good. You know, it wasn't like something from like back then, but it was Herbie. And the first thing I thought of was you. Nancy and
I
Herbie.
got my mother's '63 Volkswagen. It was lime green with the open up the ceiling, and
Hmm.
I've had up to this 2 years ago, year and a half ago,
Hmm.
my granddaughter had difficulty. She's got two young children, and my daughter called me. She says, "Mom, did you think about getting a bigger car? Because as you get older, it's harder to fall into a Volkswagen and then getting out." And I thought, this is a good time. So I gave her my car. So my granddaughter was driving from Antelope to Yuba City to work at the hospital, no, Marysville to work at the hospital at all hours. And her husband is a teacher in downtown Sacramento. So this is my granddaughter and her husband. So dynamics of getting places, and I willingly gave up my car because they needed it. And I turned around and got myself a big cargo van for
There you
camping.
go. The other
I
thing that I want to
know,
mention
right?
is Ashley had requested me to sign her up over at the Discord. I forget about the Discord. We do have a Discord that I'm going to be a lot more active in because I got lots of plans and I want to be able to chit chat with you guys back and forth, especially the newer people coming on. And you go over to Discord, type in California Haunts, and you'll find our Discord. I bit my tongue the other night and I keep hitting the same spot in the back. I don't know why. It just wants to hit that spot.
Ooh.
So when I talk, it's just constantly hit. Probably swollen for all I know. But anyway, um, visit our Discord, become a
Oh,
ghostly groupie. It's California Haunts Discord. Become a ghostly groupie, okay? And we'll have some good old chats over there. Also, if you're into TikTok and that sort of thing, I also have a TikTok for California Haunts, and we also have a subscription on that. Become a part of my Boo Crew. It's kind of fun. We do a lot of events and stuff. That being said, next Friday, we're gonna make sure we get that. We're gonna make sure that we did our show next Friday. Thank you so much, Nancy. But I was thinking about this. I watched Michelle Engel, who's a regular listener to the show, got me into watching creature features on Friday night. Creature features come back. Those that are older and know what it is. It's usually grade B movies. But they're old horror movies, grade B movies. They're fun to watch. And I thought what would be fun is after we do the show, to do a watch party. So we can get together and watch creature features together next Friday night.
oh,
And that's
how
usually
fun.
at
I
8
love
p.m.
that.
Pacific to
I've
do that.
seen,
So, I don't know how it's going to work, whether we work it from here or we just all go over there and I set it up over on YouTube, and we all go in to watch it on their site. But it's kind of like a watch party to, grab some popcorn and stuff and go over there and watch the show together. So, we'll be doing that next Friday. Cool, cool, cool.
there's
Okay.
something, didn't hear
Well,
someone wants you to follow them on Discord. That's
yeah,
kind of
that's what I'm saying.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, good.
she wants to come into our Discord. That's why I mentioned Discord, because we do have a Discord, and I do want to get more, a lot more active over there, because it's fun. We
I'll
live
have to
here in the.
figure that out. Because when I start my show, Nancy Matz Psychic, I've been sitting too long, everybody. Oh, I have to learn about all this stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah. I got some of my stuff around.
it's
Anyway,
fun.
so I'll see
Kind of hurts
I'll
my
see you
brain
guys on
sometimes.
Discord. Join me over there, and again next Friday. Make a mental note that after this show, we will go over and do a watch party for creature features. Okay. Anyway, Monday,
Are you missing one
Sunday.
tonight?
Yeah, but I'll watch it later. The replays. It's all good. Sunday, of course, I'll be back at 6 p.m. Pacific, and I will be reading from the Scottish Ghost Stories. We may be starting a new book. I don't know how much farther I've got with the Scottish Ghost Stories. That's why I'm saying we may be starting a new book. What's kind of cool about the next book, it's on werewolves. And
Oh,
I'm a big Little House on the Prairie fan, right? And Marisa, my producer, and I were watching Little House on the Prairie one day, and they were talking about this particular werewolf book at the school. Well, I think
Ooh.
this was Liza Jane Wilder was telling her students about this werewolf book. So you never know what you're going to see on TV, whether it's real or not, and that kind of thing. And sure enough, I looked it up at Project Gutenberg, and there it was. So the book behind this ghost story, the Scottish ghost story book, is going to be the werewolf book, which incidentally is written by a priest, an Anglican
Oh,
priest.
oh, how
So
interesting. A priest
yeah,
wrote it?
yeah. So it's kind of
Oh,
cool because they actually mentioned this book on Little House on the Prairie. So somebody, their historians, over at, what was it, NBC or Universal or whoever they were working with, did their research and found this book. So it should be an
what
interesting book
country?
to read.
What country was a priest in?
I think France or Germany.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well,
yeah,
that should be really good.
should be good. So like I said, I don't know how many more, how much longer we have with these Scottish ghost stories, but whenever that officially ends, we're gonna go right into that werewolf book. So that'll be fun to do. Okay, so yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you guys get going on your weekend, and again, I'll see you guys at 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday with the book read, and then Monday, Britt Elders is with us, and we're going to be talking about. You guys can do your research on this. The Billy Mayer UFO case, very famous UFO case,
Oh,
and
I've read up on him too.
yeah, and so
He's
she,
quite an interesting guy. I
her
really believe
father
him.
knew this gentleman. Her father knew Billy, and so of course she continued the research with it, and so she's going to be on Monday at 6:30 Pacific. Okay. All
Very
right,
good.
guys. I'm kind of changing things up now. So Nancy, where can people find you?
I mentioned earlier my main website, nancymatzpsychic.com. I have a
Okay.
second one because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to stop doing readings,
Right.
but I have a website because I'm an author. I've written 3 and I have 8 and 9. So nancymatzauthor.com. Lastly,
Okay.
I also have a channel. I've been working with you for a year and 7 or 8 months, so there's quite a few shows. And I moved them over to my site. So if you go to Nancy Matz Psychic, those are there also, so you can watch them. She gets all the credit. I'll be doing start my own show pretty soon, not in conflict with
Mm-hmm.
her, it'll be a different night, talking about all the readings I've done. As I talk to you tonight of all the readings, these are 30 years worth. So I'm going to start picking, and I also set up the whole studio, so it's going to be fun. My retirement job was to just
Cool,
edit
cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool.
and write my books, but I will not stop doing readings for as long as my voice lasts. So that is the @ Nancy Matz Psychic.
Okay.
So look me up. Yep, yep.
All right.
Fun.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I learned so much when you're on. I love it. I love it. Just like tonight, I learned so much. And we're going to keep doing these shows on Fridays, guys. Okay? We're going to keep doing these shows. Keep bringing you guys the best quality shows we can do between Nancy and I and the regular shows. So for all the new people that are coming on board, there are a lot of you. We're getting a lot of newer people on the RSS feed, a lot of new people on Facebook, Twitch, and everywhere. Things are starting to take off. It's getting exciting. I'm watching the audience grow, and I mean, literally right before my eyes. I'm so
Come on.
excited. And I want to thank each and every one of you, and I hope you keep sharing the show out. Like I say,
Come on.
always say at the end, if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. That's what we're all about. We're just trying to get the word out about this show, and I guess it's starting to work. And like I said, I'm really stoked and excited about it. And again, leave a comment up there at the top, thumbs up, happy hearts,
Oh,
smiley.
give us thumbs up.
That kind of helps. I don't see anything up there yet. Come on, you guys, you're slowing down on me. Where's my likes? Where's my like? All right, so I will see you guys on Sunday. And again, I've kind of changed it up now, so we're not going to do the show the books and all that stuff at the end any longer. It's kind of a thing that we're doing to work a little bit with YouTube. Never. But, all right, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Well, there's a like. Who did it? Risa Haynes, thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Bye-bye, guys.